Maruti Suzuki's almost first foray into a larger SUV with the return of the Grand Vitara nameplate to India. While India did get the second and third generation Grand Vitara or GV, that model line was since discontinued here, while the rest of the world still has the fourth gen. What we now get is India specific and is a joint project with Toyota that gives us the GV and the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder. So yes, the cars are essentially twins. And so both models will have the same variant offerings, a mild hybrid petrol with auto or manual two-wheel drive and a manual all-wheel drive. And then there's the strong hybrid CVT with two-wheel drive. Crafted Futurism is the name for the new design language at Suzuki. You see it globally on many models. It's coming into India for the first time with the Grand Vitara. It's a nice bold face and it's a good separation, I have to say, in the face from the styling that you see on the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder. That's important and I think it's a good thing because it gives the cars their own identity. Very, very macho and butch, muscular look up front. That's something, that strong statement is something that people are going to like, I think. You do see a very conscious splitting of two stacked areas. So you've got the DRL up here, very modern and very different and distinct in its overall signature. And then the headlamp is housed down there. Even the grille gets sort of split between the glossy piano black and the metal elements up here. So very distinct and I have to say very contemporary and smart. Now there are differences between these two cars because this is the smart hybrid and this is the top end, which is Alpha Plus or Zeta Plus, only on the strong hybrid. So you get the smoked darker chrome over here on this grille. You've also got a slightly metallic plastic grey finish on the skid plate. Over here you have a matte aluminium look and of course regular chrome. The roof rails are different too on both of them. You've got the black roof rails on one and you've got the satin steel finish on this one. And then of course you've got the glossy piano black treatment on the headlamp housing as well as the side cladding on the strong hybrid. And it's the regular plastic black finish, more matte on this one. At the back, the car looks even more modern and slick, I have to say. The width is enhanced optically by the tail lights and the car's name. The bulging vertical stack on the bottom corners is a bit unconventional, but that is where the indicators and reverse lights sit. The big chunk of volume you'd think for the Maruti portfolio will come from the smart hybrid. Now, this car will be available in 4 variants. There's Sigma, Delta, Zeta and Alpha. Alpha being, of course, the top-end trim, which is the one with me right now. On the lower 2 trims, that is Sigma and Delta, you only get steel wheels. But the other 2 variants will have, as standard, the 17-inch alloy wheels that you see here. They're also shared with the full hybrid, which is only available at the higher end anyway. The other thing that's interesting is that while this is, of course, the Nexa Blue is available across the range, on the base variants, you only get a solid red as an option, but on the higher trims, you only get a 2-tone red as an option. In fact, the 2-tone black roof is only available on 3 of the paint colors overall. There's the white, the silver, and the red. And like I said, there are some little quirks. The brown, for example, is not available on the absolute base version, which is Sigma. So those are some things to quickly look out for. The Nexa Blue itself has evolved over the last few years. I really like how it's done. And yes, I think that that's going to be the car that you'll probably see the most on the roads. And I am so okay with that. That is a nice and upmarket paint color and finish. Hi, Suzuki.
Hi, what can I do for you?
Turn on the radio.
Apple CarPlay is connected. Goodbye for now.
Okay then. Hi, Suzuki.
Hi, what can I do for you?
Nothing, cancel.
Bye, let's catch up later.
Yes, ma'am. That voice is gonna take some getting used to. Yes, that is another Maruti after the Brezza with a virtual assistant and plenty of connected car tech to boot. But let me focus on the drivetrain first. The smart hybrid variants have the 1.5 K15C engine, 101 bhp and 137 Nm of torque is what you get. The transmission is either a 5-speed manual or a 6-speed auto. The car's all-wheel drive variant gets manual only. Now, every once in a while, the little battery symbol comes up when it shows the regeneration on the little mild hybrid battery that's on board. What it does for you is it enhances fuel efficiency 6 to 7%, and it gives you a little bit of a power boost every once in a while. That is the role of a mild hybrid, and of course, it's one that Suzuki knows really well. Now, the little screen that you have in the middle of the instruments, that's quite nicely done. It's got some new functionality as well, including the little toggle that shows you not just all the trip information and the mileage information and the real-time driving inputs, but also a little bit extra, which is, for the first time now being on the smart hybrid, you get a little view of the energy flow from the engine to the motor or the battery. You get to see all of that, and that's a nice little touch. The only thing that irritates me is why the toggle is still here in the instruments and not a little button on the steering wheel, as it should be. In the long run, I reckon the smart hybrid will play the mainstay role when it comes to volumes for Suzuki here in India. And so, this is where I feel that a little bit of excitement, a little bit more in terms of a punch would have given this car a lot more cred. Because right now what you're going to find is a lot of people will find it acceptable, but it's not the car that's going to set your pulse racing. To me, that is a bit of a miss, because you do have a segment that has a lot of performers, right? There's also cars which have turbo engines, and that is why I really wonder, at least as an option, if not as standard, why has Suzuki not brought us the 1.4 booster jet even now? Maruti has played it safe, going for efficiency and decent cruising rather than exhilaration of any kind. The booster jet would have set the cat amongst the pigeons. And that engine is available with the smart hybrid system in Europe anyway. Productionizing it here with the scale of not just the GV but the Toyota model as well, not to forget the new Brezza, would have also given the company economies of scale and really fired things up. Sadly, we don't always get the best of Suzuki despite being its biggest business worldwide. So it's very comfortable, it's very pleasant to drive. You'll find that the operation is very smooth. The automatic works quite nicely. It's very smooth in its operation too. But as I was saying earlier, the punch is missing. And so, it's also been tuned so heavily towards mileage. On the manual, you have 21.1 kilometers per liter as the claimed mileage. On this one, the automatic, it's 20.5. On the all-wheel drive manual, it drops to 19.3, but still really good numbers. But I think that there was such a focus on getting those numbers that, yes, of course, the car's performance dulls somewhat. It comes across as underpowered, even though the engine's otherwise not bad. And especially when you're in automatic mode or drive mode, you find that it's very reluctant to downshift. Thankfully, there are paddle shifters, and so I've been downshifting a lot. And you can, of course, put it one down straight into M or manual mode and control or manipulate the gears only manually as well. Okay, so it does fine, but it will not excite on sheer performance. What about ride and handling? If the car's tires are a little well filled, it tends to get a little skittish and bouncy because the ride quality is a little hard. It's not stiff, but it's hard, and so the car doesn't come across as planted. The steering, again, is not as precise as I would have liked. However, on the whole, the handling and the overall dynamics are a lot better than previous Suzuki cars. Now that hardness and the ride quality that I talked about is nicely compensated by very comfortable and well-designed seats. It's even a well-placed seat in terms of not just its ergonomics but also its position. So you get that nice SUV feel when you're driving, and that, along with the fact that this is an adjustable steering both for reach and height, I think makes it a very comfortable driving position and lends itself to longer drives. Now I'm switching to the strong hybrid, the one with the Toyota-derived engine. Yes, I know both cars are blue and so it's hard to tell them apart, but you're just going to have to trust me. The engine is the Toyota TNGA. The hybrid system's combined output is obviously more powerful than on the mild hybrid. No paddle shifters on this one because it's the eCVT, and that little extra sense of control goes away. Now overall the whole performance still feels a little bit lazy, and it's not about being a fire starter, but it is very refined, it is very comfortable, it's a great cruiser. Now these are things that I remember saying just a few days ago. I wonder why. Well, because I said them in the High Rider review, thank you very much. So if you really want to know all the details about the performance of the full strong hybrid system, please go watch the High Rider review. Jokes apart though, NVH levels, the hushed feel and a better ride quality are some of the highlights of the strong hybrid variant. Besides the fact, of course, that the performance is nice and quiet too, because very often it switches to EV only mode. In fact, even when you start the car and you sort of get going from your parking lot or you're just exiting from a standstill, it's really nice how it glides out nice and silent. And even on the road, when you feel like through the energy flow you can establish how much juice the battery has, well, you can actually switch to just pure EV mode and it goes nice and quiet again. You can go up to 25 kilometers on pure EV mode. The onboard battery recharges through the vehicle's regeneration and its engine power. One thing that I had found annoying on the High Rider, and it's obviously carried over here as well, is the screen. The annoying part is not its functionality, not its size, it's just its overall UI. Because, you know, when you're in CarPlay, okay, it's nice and bright, but otherwise you see a lot of reflection in it, it's too dark. I said this last time too. Same problem here again. The steering and the handling feel also are a little bit better on the full hybrid. I have to say that it just comes across as a more refined and a more mature car than the mild hybrid does. Of course, it is the pricing that's going to make all the difference in terms of what eventually gets more volumes. And, you know, Maruti will want to push its car because the smart hybrid is its own system, while, of course, everything here in terms of the hybrid part of the system is a carryover from Toyota. Now, typically it's the higher mileage variant that feels most sluggish. Here it's ironic because, of course, the hybrid system gives you a terrific almost 28 kilometers to the liter, which makes it very attractive from the point of view of how much petrol it sips. But it is also the more powerful, very obviously so, of the twins. While the smart hybrid has one challenger in the form of the MG Hector mild hybrid, the strong hybrid will really compete with the diesels in the compact SUV space, mainly the Hyundai Creta and Kia Seltos. Now, while overall this seat feels more plump than the one on the smart hybrid, I have to say it's not as comfortable because, you know, you got this little bulge here where the quilted pattern starts, and that kind of feels a little annoying on the middle upper back. But you know what, that's an individual preference thing. The cabin on the Strong Hybrid is very similar to the one I've already showed you on the High Rider from Toyota. So lots of bits and bobs are similar. Of course, the styling is a little bit different. On this top end, you get this slightly bronze looked plastic and little stitching, leather finish, and even the seats are quilted and they're a little bit different. On the Smart Hybrid, the color palette changes somewhat, and of course the finish and the materials are a little bit different. You also don't get the virtual cluster on that one. That's only here on the Strong Hybrid. You also have other goodies like the head-up display and the 360 surround camera, the front ventilated seats, the drive mode buttons. But like I said, all this, the wireless charger, all of this is very similar to what you've already seen on the High Rider, because of course the two cars share all of these features and functions. There is a lot in terms of new functions that have been added to the cars, the connected car features, and also to the actual phone connectivity, because you've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that come into play. The car looks really smart, contemporary, and I have to say, for the first time from Maruti, you get a sense of it being really well loaded. It's not just about the panoramic sunroof or having these features on a list. It's actually the execution that's been done in a more international, more global style. The GV gets Suzuki Connect on all but the base Sigma variant. This means a connected car suite of features for both remote app-based and in-car security or efficiency that use an inbuilt Vodafone SIM for connectivity to the network. Again, back here, things are like the High Rider in terms of sense of space. The panoramic sunroof enhances that, but it's nice and roomy feeling at the back. Good amount of leg room, decent on under-thigh support, and the seat reclines just a little bit. It gives you those two angles, remember. The drop-down armrest has the cup holders, but here's the good news. Like that car, this one also has the 3-point seat belt for the middle rear passenger. That's always good. Rear AC vents add to all the must-haves in India. And you've also got, therefore, the two USB points here, one USB-A and one USB-C port, which is also good to have. Piano black treatment, and of course the overall color palette and theme, like you saw in the front, continues into the back here on the Alpha Plus variant. The Smart Hybrid side of things get more basic as you go down the trims, of course. One thing left to do, and that is test the car's off-roading skills, since it is the first Suzuki model with all-wheel drive in India. It's a 26-degree angle behind me, and it's been designed to test the approach and departure angles of the car. Now, the whole idea of being at a Maruti Suzuki drive event and doing off-road testing, all-wheel drive testing, I'll tell you what, in so many years of doing so many car tests, this is something very different and very new. So they call it all grip. Let's go test it. Whether it is hill hold assist, hill descent, good departure and approach angles, or the ride height, this is not a hardcore off-roader, but it will do a fair bit. In fact, it would have done more than what was shown to us. The all-grip system has the snow, sport and auto modes. You can also lock torque distribution to all four wheels. Leaving it in auto is pretty good, though the sport mode on the road can also be fun. So essentially what you get here is a good enough test of all the skills the car has, all of its off-roading capability, even its 210mm ground clearance, its different drive modes, and of course its suspension setting and the overall tuning. But the part you do need to remember, the all grip is only available on the manual 1.5 Smart Hybrid. So it's not available on the automatic, and it's not on the full hybrid system either. The all-wheel drive will likely not have as much demand, and both brands know it, which is why there will not be too many trims on that one, just the one high-end offering. Toyota is yet to announce prices for most of its Smart Hybrid variants, but it has done so for the top Alpha trim and the Strong Hybrids too. Expect Maruti to stay a bit aggressive at the entry end and be similar on the higher side with the Strong Hybrid. I expect the Smart Drive GV Sigma to start at 11 lakh rupees ex-showroom and the Alpha to top off at just under 17 lakh rupees. The strong hybrid will have just two variants here, which I reckon would be priced between 17 and 18.5 lakh rupees at showroom.